You know, we're always taught to seek harmony, to avoid conflict at all costs. But what if that's completely wrong? What if all that friction, all that tension, those disagreements we try so hard to get rid of are actually the very engine of growth, innovation, and maybe even survival itself?
I mean, this idea from Dr. Nimrod Israeli just turns everything we think we know on its head. It suggests that a system without any conflict isn't peaceful, it's just stagnant. It's actually on a path to decay. And this isn't just about some company. This idea applies to whole societies, and as we'll see, maybe even the universe itself.
Okay, so let's dig into this. We're going to start with a pretty simple story from a boardroom, but it reveals something, well, kind of profound about the hidden danger of everyone agreeing.
All right, so picture this. You're in a management meeting. A new proposal's on the table. And as you look around the room, everyone just nods along. No pushback, no arguments. Sounds perfect, right? I mean, total harmony.
Yeah, but that's not what happened at all. Instead of feeling confident about the decision, Dr. Israeli felt this deep sense of unease. That perfect, frictionless agreement didn't signal strength. It was more like a warning sign.
And he realized, wait a minute, this isn't unity, this is fragility. See, a team that never challenges ideas becomes brittle. Without that constructive conflict, there's no tension, no creative energy. It's a system that can't adapt because it's never actually being tested. So this all leads to a really crucial question. Like, why is a room full of people just nodding along actually more dangerous than a room full of, passionate debate? To really get that, we need to scale this whole idea up. So let's see how this whole idea scales up. We're going from a single business to an entire society. It turns out the exact same pattern we saw in that boardroom, well, it can explain the rise and fall of entire communities.
And for a powerful example of this, we're going to look at the Israeli kibbutz. Now, these communities were never designed to be these perfectly harmonious places. In fact, you could say their greatest strength came from their ability to handle, intense, constant disagreement.
So how in the world did they manage that? Well, they built this incredibly powerful container for all that conflict. The goal wasn't to get rid of disagreement, it was to channel it. Because they had this foundation of shared core values and a mission everyone believed in. They could have these forceful, open debates because everyone knew, deep down, they were all on the same team.
And here's the thing. The most creative, the most prosperous times for the kibbutz, they weren't the quiet years. Nope. They were the years filled with loud, passionate arguments that would go late into the night. That tension, that wasn't just some side effect of their success. It was the engine.
And of course, the flip side is just as telling. Later on, when people started avoiding those tough conversations, just to keep the peace, the whole community's momentum just stalled. The mission got blurry, and the very structure that made them so resilient started to weaken.
Okay, now for the ultimate test of this idea. We have to go way bigger. We're talking about the very foundations of the universe. What if this whole pattern, growth through conflict, isn't just about people? What if it's a fundamental law of reality itself?
So, get this. At the very heart of modern physics, there is a massive, glaring conflict. We've got two absolutely brilliant theories. Quantum mechanics, which perfectly describes the bizarre world of tiny little particles, and then general relativity, which governs the grand cosmic dance of planets and galaxies. The huge problem is, they fundamentally contradict each other. I mean, you try to use them together and the math just completely falls apart.
For like a century, this has looked like the biggest failure in all of physics, a sign that our understanding of everything is just broken. But what if we've been looking at it completely wrong this whole time?
What if this isn't a failure at all? What if it's actually a feature, one that's explained by a universal law? A law that says complexity and growth don't come from harmony, they come from structured tension.
This is what Dr. Israeli calls the universal law of increasing complexity. And the idea is pretty mind-blowing. For any system to evolve, whether it's an atom, a living cell, or a whole society, it needs three key forces to line up just right.
Okay, so what are these three forces? First up, you've got energy. That's the what, the raw material, the potential for change. Second, you need structure. That's the how, the stable container that holds all that energy and tension. And finally, number three is direction. That's the why, the mission that guides the energy inside that structure towards some kind of goal.
So let's apply this back to our big physics problem. You see, quantum mechanics, with its world of uncertainty and constant fluctuation, it provides the boundless energy of the universe. It's the raw, chaotic potential for everything.
And then you have general relativity. That provides the cosmic structure. It's the stable, predictable geometry of space-time that contains all that wild quantum energy, giving it a form and a place to exist. So what about the conflict between them? The big contradiction? Well, it turns out that's not a flaw. That tension is the third ingredient. It provides the direction. It's the friction that drives all of cosmic evolution, from tiny particles all the way to people. The contradiction is the engine that drives it all.
Okay, so what does a law that seems to govern the entire universe mean for us, right here, right now, in our daily lives? Well, it means we actually have a blueprint for growth that applies to everything from our careers to our communities.
Basically, it gives us a new set of rules for growth. First, don't just put up with disagreement, go looking for it. Second, build strong containers, not echo chambers. Create shared values and trust that can actually hold all that tension. Third, unite everyone around a mission that gives all that friction a real purpose. And finally, just reframe how you see conflict. It is not a threat, it's your most powerful creative engine.
You know, it all really comes back to this one idea. Real strength, real evolution, it doesn't come from getting rid of our differences. It comes from building systems, in our relationships, in our companies, in our societies, that are tough enough to not just withstand tension, but to actually harness it.
So I'll just leave you with this one final thought. I want you to think about the biggest source of friction or contradiction in your own life, or maybe in your work. What if it's not some problem you need to solve or get rid of? What if, with the right structure and the right mission, it's the very engine that's waiting to fuel your next big breakthrough?